A very good evening to everyone here. I'd like to start by asking you to do what John Lennon did. Imagine. Imagine a wide outdoor, completely covered in white, and you watch this beautiful snowfall in an almost windless area. It's quite easy to get lost in that moment as you see one snowflake swirling around in air and landing into the palm of your hand. This is exactly what happened to me as I stood there admiring it. The very next second, I was hit by a wind speed of over 100 kilometers per hour. This wind knocked my glasses straight off my face and I watched it disappear. We were hit by a sudden blizzard. A blizzard that lasted well over 2 weeks. That, my friends, is Antarctica for you. And this is a story where passion meets profession. Adventure to me is walking that thin line between life and death to step out of your comfort zone. Being a doctor, that too a surgeon, our profession is adventurous enough, especially given the circumstance for doctors in our country today. But that being said, on one fine morning, after having seen around 40 OPD patients, I thought to myself I was probably meant for more because life did hit a monotonous road. And it was at this point that I noticed a newspaper clipping that was asking doctors to join for work in one of the harshest, coldest, and most unforgiving environment the world had to offer. But having worked in multiple hospitals that matched that description, I thought, why not? And this led to apply for the job at NCPOR Goa. The interview was conducted by them, and I was one among 4 doctors selected for this adventure of a lifetime. So that led me to the next phase. You can see there. We were trained by the Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force, the ITBP, at Oli, Uttarakhand. We were trained for high altitude search and rescue and also high altitude acclimatization. Following that, we moved to Cape Town, from wherein we were supposed to set sail to Antarctica through one of the most dangerous waters in the world. The video will play and I'll keep explaining to you as to what happened. So ours was a 13,000 ton beautiful icebreaker ship. And this 13,000 ton ship was tossed around like a paper boat. On one particular day, I remember me and my cabin mate were told there were bioluminescence in the water. So obviously, we wanted to go check it out. So little after midnight, the two of us geared up, went to the back of our ship, and that was where we saw the scariest thing that we could at that point. Because at the back of the ship, we were on top of a wave, and 40 feet below us was water. And the very next second, as we bent over the wave, through the wave, there was a wall of water that rose 40 feet above us. And in that water, just as the propeller spun, it excited these planktons, and you'd see bursts of color. It was magical as well as terrifying. All right. So we then moved to a phase of the ocean called the roaring 40s, furious 50s, and the shrieking 60s. What are they, you may ask? These refer to the latitudes and how terribly amazing the ocean is. As you can see there, wind, basically what it is the hot air at the equator moves up and then it moves towards the poles. And the Southern Ocean, owing to the absence of any major landmass, these winds keep picking up speed. They accelerate and tag along the entire ocean with them. This leads to huge waves and very high wind speeds. So the roaring 40s is when the ocean basically starts to roar. All right, and the wind is heavy, and the furious 50s. So this phase, the ocean is angry. This is why you see these 40 to 60 feet high waves. And this video was taken from the 4th floor of a ship. So you can imagine the spray that is coming all the way up there. All right. So following that, it's the shrieking 60s. This area is the closest you can get to living a horror movie. Why? Because this area entirely is filled with the sea howling at you. It is screaming. And the ocean, well, it dances to that music too. After 12 days at sea, we reached the ice planet. And my first thought was how breathtakingly beautiful it was, both in a good and a bad way. Because meaning our station, almost looked like a spaceship and in an alien planet which was so vast and lethal. All right. And I was to sit there and survive there for a year. There was no escaping that place. It was isolation personified. So, what happens is there is a lot of beauty there. People often ask me, how was it? And I could tell them the one answer. It was beyond your wildest dreams, or in certain case, nightmare. So on a given day, when I looked out of my window, I would be able to see a frozen sea. I would be able to see icebergs, islands covered in snow, and of course the ice shelf too. And every now and then, the occasional penguin that strays close to us. But inside that room is where we deal with a lot of issues. One of it is mainly the effects of isolation. To put that to perspective, our internet speed for the entire station was only 256 kb per second. So you can imagine that is around 200 times lower than the slowest of phones in your hands right now. And that was for the entire station. What does it do? Well, you cannot communicate the way you do right now. You cannot talk to your people. So as a result, you start to feel like the world has left you behind and has moved on. So one of my toughest things was when I managed to video call home and I whistled at my dog. I watched her frantically look around for me, and that really did shatter my heart. So what do we do to escape this gloom around us? Well, we go on adventures. We start hiking across the frozen sea. We explore the islands nearby, and we also visit the icebergs. On one particular day, me and a colleague of mine, we decided to walk along the frozen sea. We headed close to an island. Islands, owing to them being a solid landmass, absorb some solar heat. The end result is the ice near the island is thin. As a result of which, when the two of us went and stepped on an ice sheet, we heard a crack. You can see there. And that crack and our weight made the ice lower down a couple of inches. The two of us looked at each other, didn't speak a word, turned around, walked back to the station. Yeah. So the picture on top is that tiny black thing there. That's a crevice. It is perfectly camouflaged. What happens if you step on it? You fall into the, meaning it's around a kilometer deep or so. That is how deep crevices in Antarctica are. This is a narrower one. So that was one experience. The next one is something called a whiteout. We was having some work at a research purpose on an ice shelf. So we were supposed to go there, and we were told the weather would be pristine. It was supposed to be the most beautiful sunrise and the most beautiful sunset. But that was when Antarctica decided to be her moody best. And as I stood there snapping a picture of a person 6 feet in front of me, that's hardly that distance, I snapped a photo and I looked up, the person was missing. Because there was a slow blowing blizzard that hit us. And the slow blowing blizzard picks up the top layer snow. And as a result, everything starts to drift. And I looked behind me, a vehicle which is mammoth in size, 20 feet behind me was missing too. So then I decided, at this point, everything, your entire orientation goes for a toss. Because you do not know which way is up, which way is down, which way is left or right. I put my hand in front of my face and I couldn't see my own hand. And that is how white and blinding it is. And the wind makes this diesel engine noise throughout, and that pretty much deafens you too. So disorientation hit hard, and at that moment I thought, hey, I'm going to walk back the same direction and get to the vehicle. But something told me that if I did go the wrong direction, and due to the crevices being all around the ice shelf, that was probably not the best of ideas. So I did the next best thing, picked up my camera, thought to myself, I'll record a final video of myself and go down, at least people at home will have a closure. Somewhere 3,000 years later, and some archaeologist will pick up my body and find this memory card there. So at that point, I turned on my camera, took a panoramic shot, and maybe the odds were in my favor, because just as I swirled around, there was a gust of wind, and the scene cleared up a little. My camera's immensely large processor managed to capture a small glimpse of the glow from the light of the vehicle. That is a screenshot from the vehicle and what it was. And I was planning to walk the exact opposite direction. Had I taken a couple of steps, that would have been my end. The next deal, now that we've covered the complete white scenery, imagine complete darkness. In Antarctica, we face 2 months of complete darkness, the polar nights. The polar nights bring with it some beauties, but it also brings with it a lot of pain. For starters, your sleep cycle goes for a toss. You wake up in the middle of the day, middle of the night, doesn't matter, because when you walk outside your room, there's nobody there. It's complete isolation. You don't see another person for a good few days straight. But apart from all the perils that the polar night throws at you, it compensates for it with the most brilliant of night skies, even at 12 in the afternoon. So you step out at 12 in the afternoon, you'd be able to see a billion stars. All these pictures were taken by me, and the one on the left is, to your right rather, is that of the Milky Way and the band of stars that comprise it. And of course, we all know the Aurora Australis, the mesmerizingly beautiful dancing southern lights. So you may wonder, what is it that I did there, being a doctor and a surgeon by profession? Well, my biggest achievement there was we went there as 23 people and we came back home as 23 people. We survived and we endured one of the harshest environments. These were the awards and recognitions we received from the government of India. One of my favorite will be the Polar Man Award, which only goes to people who winter over at Antarctica. But nothing is as valuable as the 23 people who came back home with me, despite emergencies that happened. So 3 days before leaving Antarctica, Antarctica, in all her glory, decided to brand me hers. Like, the one animals that leave. No? So what had happened is I had a vasovagal attack, meaning the overconfident me walked outside, came back, got dehydrated, exhausted, fainted, and fell. When I fell, I landed on a heater that was on for like over 2 weeks. So it was molten hot and it basically barbecued my hand. And my glasses shattered, a piece of glass went into my eyebrow. And this was Antarctica's way of saying, you've done it, you've achieved it. And it sent me a mark of remembrance. Until this day, I wear these scars with pride. So Antarctica is a tiny bit of land at the bottom of the globe. Yeah, it is always overlooked, always ignored. Why? Because we humans have an innate ability to look down upon things, even if it's the globe. Antarctica is 14 million square kilometers wide, and it has a population of less than 1,000 people, making it one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. With an average winter temperature of minus 63 degrees, it is the coldest, windiest, and most dangerous place on Earth to live. She was found in the year 1840, and after a 100-year period, 7 countries in this world decided to unanimously join together and say Antarctica will be used only for peaceful purpose and will not be a subject to any human or international discord. I really wish we did that with the rest of the world, but sadly not. And with that, we humans left Antarctica to its natural rulers, and in this case, the wildlife, the animals and the birds, and of course the most majestic of them all, the emperor penguin. So you may wonder, what is it that Antarctica taught me? Antarctica, my journey there was a journey within myself, and it taught me resilience. It taught me to respect the unknown, and it taught me to appreciate the human spirit. I came back a completely changed person with newfound appreciation to life and a purpose in my life. That was after we got back. You can see COVID hit. So Antarctica was not too different from COVID at that point. But with that, I'd like to end that, and thank you all so much. I should add a moment. This journey wouldn't have been complete if not for the love and support of people who stood by me throughout the difficult times and the good times. And most of them are here today as well supporting me, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.